Hey, welcome family. This is the first night. We have just wrapped up the session. Dad went super deep on the rules. At the end of the session, I also shared the document, which is something that you're going to get in our group chat. But if you're watching this on YouTube later, thank you for checking out this video. This is a meaty one. We went deep on the rules for our brand new strategy. So buckle up, get your pen and paper ready to take some notes. And if you have any questions, reach out to me on social media. In the meantime, let's jump into the session. It was amazing and I know you're going to enjoy it. Let's go. Welcome everyone to the first night of many. It is so good to be with you this evening. I am far beyond fired up and excited to say the least. Zeph, double fist pumps, right? Like this is a pretty historic moment, guys. And for those of you that have been with us maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for all of the last 3.5 years, it has been one heck of a journey to get to this point, but this is truly the beginning of something incredibly special. And since making that giant mic drop announcement last Monday on the 11th of the 11th that Dad and I are launching out and starting our own thing, our own community, with all of you who are already here with us, it's been so incredibly heartwarming and moving to experience the response from each and every one of you. The messages we've received, obviously all of you deciding to go all in with us and do this. It's been insane, guys. People just saying, answer to prayer, thank you so much, been waiting for this for a year, etc. And it's just really humbling, to be quite honest, because my dad and I, we just look at each other every day and go, did you ever think? No. Like, absolutely no. Did we ever think we'd be doing this and having this much fun? And so tonight is extremely special. It is night one of us launching this TRENDFORCE journey together. And so I know we've got a full house here live on Zoom, and I know some of you might be watching this later on YouTube. And so because we're an international family, we just want to say thank you and welcome. So good to have you with us now and later. But tonight, like I said, is going to be special. So in a moment, I'm going to bring on Dad. We're going to go through the rules of the game and how to drive this amazing thing. And so before we get to that, just a couple of quick things, guys. I more than ever have been burning and thinking about this vision that God gave me years ago for the fit life. And when I say that, you've all heard me say that, but maybe you haven't, and this is for you. But when I say the fit life, I'm really talking about John 10 verse 10, where it says in a pretty damn good book, the Bible, that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come to give you life and life abundantly. And you can go and study all the fancy words and the original meaning of all that, but you cannot over exaggerate that word abundantly or abundance. And all that to say, I just believe that God has got incredible, amazing things for us to step into in this life, not just the next. And to partner with that, it means really putting yourself in a position where you can grow and become all that He's called you to be. And that looks like leveling up across the board, leveling up in your spiritual life, your mindset, your emotions, your physical health, and your finances. And I've said it many times, but you're never going to experience any incredible breakthrough on the outside or externally, financially speaking, that you're not already experiencing on the inside. And that takes getting pretty honest with ourselves and taking stock of where we're at in life. And so some of us have dived deep into that learning journey. The mindset side, trading is like a mirror, right? You get to get pretty quick feedback on, how patient we are, how disciplined we are. Recently just been reading through the book of Proverbs a whole lot again, and just taking a highlighter on two words, the word wisdom and the word discipline, over and over and over again. And we're on a journey of becoming more disciplined, which is basically giving ourselves an instruction and actually being able to follow it. And that is really what tonight is about. It's getting the rules that we need, which is the instructions that we are going to give ourselves to follow, so that then we can actually follow those rules. And so tonight is special, guys. I'm so keen for you to get these rules. I know by now all of you should actually have all three TRENDFORCE indicators in TradingView. I know, you all know how to find them. You've probably found them already, but I'm going to go through that super quick so that if someone hasn't found them yet, I'll show you how. So let me share my screen and we will rip into it. Get the chat in the right place. That's as low it'll let me go. Stuff in the way. There we go. Okay, so screen share. Let's share this one. Man, you can tell I'm out of practice. Okay, let's go for that one. Okay, now I can't see the chat anymore, so I'm just going to take it that you can all see me and see my screen. And I'm going to try and pull the chat back so I actually can see things if they pop up. Where'd the chat go? There it is. Cool. Bring that over. Move that to the side. Great. Okay, guys. So TradingView, all of you know what's going on here. I'm going to remove all these so we can start from scratch. TFI, TRENDFORCE indicator, TFM, TRENDFORCE MACD, TFO, TRENDFORCE oscillator. So when you're stock standard landing on TradingView, guys, your candles might not look like this. I've just taken on Dad's colors for this light and momentary season. But you know, you can right click and get on settings. You can adjust your body colors here, borders and wicks. They're not standard that color, and these are not mine, but you can make them whatever you want. And so I've just gone and made them that. I don't even think those are Dad's, to be honest. One other thing I don't want to forget about, under scales and lines, for you guys that are trading on live accounts, where it says bid and ask price, this right here, you can see I've got 2 lines on my chart. That right there is the bid and the ask price. And that is actually the spread showing up, and that is what knocks you out, in case you don't know. So if you are trading and you're experiencing like, hey, that actually didn't look like it hit my stop loss, but without it, you're just seeing one line. When you tick that, you're seeing both, and that's what you need to do. But another thing with Black Bull, if you have a Prime account, you have 0 spread. Just something else to be aware of, which is quite cool. So anyway, enough about that for now. I'm going to go in here to indicators, up the top left-hand side, click on that. For me, you're going to have it under invite only, but clicking on personal over there, because I've created these. I'm going to roll down and I'm going to favorite them. This is what you're going to do. You're going to find it under, you're going to click on invite only to find these, but because I've created these, they're in here. So I'm going to go TRENDFORCE indicator V1, TRENDFORCE MACD, and TRENDFORCE oscillator. And then I'm going to click one. I didn't actually click it. One, that's now loading. TRENDFORCE MACD, TRENDFORCE oscillator. Now they're going to be in my favorite section over there, and they should be on the same on your invite only. So now they're on the chart. You should all have them by now. You can do what you like with these things. You can move them up and down. You can click arrows and, you know, you find your preference, do your thing, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to get into how we can make all the adjustments on this right now. I just want to show you how to at least find them, add them. I know I've had some questions about, I can't find TRENDFORCE, I can't load it anymore. The original TRENDFORCE I have completely deleted, because now we have the TRENDFORCE oscillator, which is replacing that, which has also got the updated white triangles, which is a form of a reversal in advance. So that is that. That's how you find it all. That's how you add it to your chart. And then I don't really want to spend much more time showing you any of that. I just wanted to have that on here. Maybe one more thing, just in case we have some real brand new people. If you have not done any demo trading before, you're going to come down the bottom here. And over here, it's got trading panel. You click that. When you've got a live account, you'll be clicking on Black Bull and logging in that way. Otherwise, paper trading is TradingView's internal way of you being able to demo trade. So they call it paper trading. Took one random trade on here to just show the balance is going to grow. But if you wanted to, this is how you can come in here and you can actually follow along with your history and see what's what. But otherwise, if you want to do, someone asked the other day, how do you reset it? Click that little icon over there. You can come in here and decide to adjust this to whatever you want it to be. You can make it 100, you can make it 1,000, you can do whatever, and you reset, and now you're back at scratch. So that is how you would be doing that. And then to actually pull it up, you hit trade. Now you have a panel on your left-hand side here. You would be adjusting your units, which are similar to lots. I'm going to do all separate trainings on this kind of stuff in the future, guys. But for now, this is how you could come in here and take a very, very poor late entry and click sell, and you would be in the trade. And then from that point, you know, you could drag your stop loss like that, or you would probably rather have it in place already. But that is as simple as it is right there to get into a trade if you were taking a signal at the right time. That obviously wasn't, but just to show you a real quick example, you can drag your stop loss into profit once it's moving and hit modify. You could adjust your TP. You can do all those fun things. So that is how you can come in here and practice. And then obviously to close it out, you're just going to hit the X if you want to, and that's going to delete that entire trade. And you could decide to close off partials. You could say, I want to close off maybe half of that position because it's running in profit, or close the whole thing, and that would be a tiny 50-cent win, maybe break even at that point. And then you can see your entry and exit candles, etc. You can adjust all those things. But yeah, guys, just wanted to put that on here in case someone's watching for the first time and doesn't know how to do any of that. But we will do more of that in more detail later. So I'm going to unshare my screen, get myself out the way, and get to the main event for the evening. So by now, I know you've all got this wonderful tool. Some of you are already ripping some wins with it, and but now you're going to get the real rules, guys. So I have got the rules all typed up, edited in a nice format for you guys to have and follow along with after tonight. But tonight, if I gave you those, you're just going to go read ahead. You're not going to pay attention. So notepads out. Be ready to write. And my encouragement to you guys would be to write these things down a lot. The idea of tonight is to actually, and moving forward, is to burn these rules into your subconscious mind by words and by visuals. So I would encourage you tonight, write down everything that Dad is saying, and that's going to be one way for your brain to actually remember more. As cheesy as it sounds, note makers are money makers. So there we go. We'll leave it at that. So Dad, I am going to find you in the chat and pin you to the screen. Oh, it's good to have a full house on here, guys. We are back in action. So there we go. Let's rock and roll. Well, guys, drop some love in the chat for Dad, aka Tim Stevenson, the creator of TRENDFORCE and all things amazing in the trading space. So, Dad, firstly, thank you for saying yes, for going all in, and just really opening up your heart so much to help other people figure this stuff out in the space because you didn't need to. But I know that it's far more fulfilling to do that. And so we're all super grateful. The messages I'm getting sent all the time, I hope you're getting sent, of gratitude for what you've done. And so tonight we get to take it a little bit deeper. So guys, let's go. Dad, over to you.
Cool. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Perfectly.
I mean, this is like so exciting. I'm also buzzing. I know Ty's buzzing. I'm also buzzing. I mean, this has been a long journey to get to this point. So, man, I'm so excited for our future together. I mean, one of my values is kind of family and community, and I really think that that's what is going to develop. We're going to just have such a wonderful sense of a community of people getting together and becoming successful, getting out of the grind of the rat race and finding financial freedom. So, I mean, that's really my heart and my vision. I'm so motivated, to help people, find freedom. And I believe through this indicator, that's going to be a major, major part of the process. So I've really enjoyed the journey. It's been a lot of development. I really need to thank my wife. I work for our church from Sunday till Wednesday, 4 days a week, and then Thursday to Saturday I'm kind of free. And that's what I've been pouring my life in the last year into this indicator. So it's nice to be finished. Most times I've through the last development, I've traded, then I've stopped, I've got to change that, adjust that, and it's been like a lot of development. But it's so nice to put the indicator on and just use it now without having to make adjustments. But I really want us to take ownership. I've been the developer, but I want us to see this. This is our community indicator. This is what we are going to gather around and become successful. And we already, we had a couple of early testers who pointed a few things out. We do want to welcome feedback too. This is version 1. You'll see when you've loaded it, it said version 1. I mean, in a year's time or 2 years' time, we may look back and laugh and think, gee, look what we started with version 1. So we are looking for input and feedback. There are a lot of defaults that I've just set that suited me. The colors, I know Tana don't always have the same color choice. I'm right, he's wrong. No, just kidding. But we do want to get feedback as we go, and I've already made a tweak in the last week that I'll show you. But I mean, basically, it's kind of 99% done. And so, I mean, as I say, it's been a long journey getting here. And, I also started off losing, got frustrated, and then started getting into programming and stuff and trying to learn the code. So that's been a great journey, but it's been, trying to find a safe way to trade. That's what I really felt God told me, is that he would show me a safer way to trade. And so it's been this journey, and now we've got to this point where there are going to be a lot of rules. But I thought about it, I think it's commonly said that 90% of people lose 90% of their money in 90 days. And then, only 5% end up being successful. So I think, there are a lot of reasons for that. One is no education. People just look at some guru on trading on YouTube that has kind of got some strategy that looks like it's worked. So there's maybe no education. They don't have an indicator. There's no strategy. There's no rules. There's no capital management. We'll look at that next week. And also there's no discipline or patience. So those are things that I kind of looked at in developing this thing to try and help develop something that would make things easier. People say the more I study and read about it, people say it often takes, 2 to 3 years to become successful. I think through this, we're going to be, most of the people who join, I know a lot of us are experienced already, will take way less than 2 to 3 years. So we're going to jump straight in and look at the rules. And we look at some examples. But rules are important. I want to say, if you stick to the rules, you will be successful. It's as simple as that. And if you don't apply rules, you're gambling. All right, so you've got to have strict entry rules and strict exit rules. You can't think, well, I'm going to enter this trade and see how it goes and decide when I'm going to pull out. Now's a good time. No, when you enter a trade, you've already got to be thinking where you're going to exit, because there are all those, the 4 challenges to traders. It's like fear of, leaving money on the table, fear of missing out, fear of loss, fear of being wrong. All those things. Once a trade starts and you start getting to profit, all these emotions are going to trigger. So unless you've got a clear entry and a clear exit, you're just going to be gambling. All right, so it's so important to have a clear plan, not just be kind of laissez-faire, I'm just going to take it as it goes. I've tried to develop a mechanical trading system. That's the real key, to take emotion out, because my emotions were all over the place when I was learning to trade. Once I went into profit, I've got to stay in, and I think I said once, I've learned the hard way, that knocking out the park's not the way to trade. I mean, once I got in this trade, I did my research. I thought this one's going to go to 130 pips. I got in and it was climbing. It hit 80 pips. I thought this is going to hit my take profit. Then it started pulling back. I thought, no, this is going up. It's just a pullback. It dropped and dropped. I mean, fortunately, I was in profit. I had my stop loss up to 30 pips, but I mean, it could have been 80. But if you don't have a very clear plan of entry and exit, your emotions are going to take over and you will not be successful. So you've got to come to a place in trading where you are a mechanical trader, where your emotions don't tell you in and out. It's got to be by the rules. And so we've got 4 rules. Now I'm going to explain them very slowly tonight. So only 4 rules, but obviously each rule has a lot around them. And I'm going to look at some trades. I said to Ty, unfortunately, this has been like the worst week to teach on rules because the market has been all over the place. And I've been trading for a couple of years now. And usually there's beautiful moves in the morning, during the day. But with the elections, like I think the NAS hit an all-time high. With the elections, there was a big going up, and now it's like pulled back, and there's a lot of sideways movement. So it's not an easy time to trade at the moment. So, I mean, I've looked at some examples. I'm going to do one easy one, then 2 more difficult ones, so you can get some idea. But if you can apply these 4 rules, then I believe you'll be a successful trader. So, Ty, can I share my screen now? Click on share. There we go. I've got the thumbs up. And I think that looks like my screen right now. Share. All right. So you should be able to see my screen right now. Is that clear to everyone? Yep, I see a nodding head. All right. So this is what, as I say, you can arrange your screen how you want. I like my TRENDFORCE at the bottom. But when I've seen some people say, don't make your TRENDFORCE like that. This takes unnecessary space. I like it. I especially set all the parameters. I mean, I spend a lot. I mean, setting up even TRENDFORCE, getting the spacing right. I've done it so if I just drop straight down, it's going to just take the bottom line of my screen. And so there's the MACD, and hopefully you've seen the video from last week. And so these are the 4 rules, and I'm going to go through each one really slowly, and then we're going to look at some examples. I'll just start with, this was a buy on the NAS. This afternoon at 1448. So we're going to look through that one. So rule number 1, I call it trend zone alignment. That is the real key. So trend zone alignment. And so I've already explained that you can see these zones, like here it's red, or it's really dark pink. I just called it red. That's a zone going down. This is a trend zone moving up. And on the 1 minute, this is your 3-minute trend zone. On the 1 minute, this is your 15-minute trend zone. So these are your trend zones, plus the way I've programmed the MACD. I've made a custom MACD just for our strategy. I've also programmed, as I said last week, the MACD line and the signal line also change color and match. So when I talk about trend zone alignment, the safest trades, now we are looking to be mechanical traders. We're looking for low risk, high probability trades. That's what we want to take. Now, there are times you may be tempted to break the rules, and if you break the rules, you'll be successful in some trades, but probably only 30% of the time. So we're taking this, our community, seriously. We want to raise up profitable traders, so important to follow the rules. So with this trade that came, I'm on the 3 minutes on the NAS. This is at 1448. This is a great trade to look at. So the first thing to look at is trend zone alignment. So firstly, for the immediate time period on. So we're on the 3 minute, we can see on the buy signal, there's already separation. And so in the main indicator, the trend zone is aligned. Then we also look secondly at the MACD. And if we look down at the MACD, is the trend zone aligned? Absolutely. There's separation. So both of those are separated in blue. So that's a 1 out of 3. At the end, you can evaluate every score out of 10. But it's very important. You will get false signals. So if you just look back, you will see that there's a buy signal there, there's a buy signal there. We wouldn't have taken those for a number of reasons. We can maybe look back at them. And so the only way to root out false signals is to look at a higher time frame. And so my little rule is look at a time frame more or less 3 times higher than the current frame you're on, and compare that to see what the trend zones look like. So if you're on the 1 minute, you look at the 3 minute. If you're on the 3 minute, you'd look at the 9 minute. I just like the 8 minute, which is close enough. So I've got my 8 minute open on the right here. So if we look at the signal over here, already we can see it's just on separation. And here we're on also, we are just on separating, which is a good time to enter. And so those zones are aligned. Then what's also important is to always look at higher time frames. Now, in this case, we would not get 3 out of 3. Although we are above the 15-minute, the equivalent of the 15-minute, we are below the 1 hour. And also, if you go right up, you'll probably find, the equivalent of the 4 hour. So ideally, those should all be in alignment, but they're not. So this would be 2 out of 3. So still a fairly strong for our trend zone, but ideally you want all those aligned. So if we just look at the indicator quickly, you can see the colors here. So if we just look over here, you can see the 4 hour, the highest one is teal, then we've got purple, and then we've got our 15-minute, which is the lighter green and red, and down here we've got that 3-minute trend zone, which is like a 55. And so ideally, if you're buying, you want that at the bottom, followed by that on top. Then next we have that 15-minute, and then finally this 3-minute one over there. So when they're aligned, you have a greater chance of the trade moving. Like this morning, I think on the Dow, you were in between zones. Now I'll tell you why these trades are risky, because I think I've said before, all the big money is with like the banks, all these financial institutions, and they use algorithms based on Fibonacci numbers. So when the zones are not completely aligned, like over here, we are below this 1 hour, below this trend zone. That means all the way over here, there would be a lot of EMAs in between as price moves up. And that can cause price to obviously reverse, pull back and reverse. So we would get 2 out of 3 in terms of the trend zone here. So not perfect, but it's still a good signal. All right, then, so that's mainly our first rule, trend zone alignment. So sometimes they're very clean, where the break's very clear. So we get 2 out of 3. Then our second rule is our orbs. So I want to spend a bit of time talking about orbs. So these are the outer range bands. Now, there's something I need to say very important about these outer range bands. This part of the indicator are the only ones that repaint. All right, so what repaint means is that historical data does change. Every other part of the indicator, if you look back, it'll look exactly like it is. But these outer range bands, they're measuring basically the range of how price is moving. These do adjust. And so you may see a little shiver now and then as they repaint. But although they repaint, they're still very, very useful. Now, the only catch, I was almost 50-50 about including them because they repaint and they go back 500 candles, they use a lot of processing power. And with the computer language Pine scripts in TradingView, if it can't execute, an indicator within milliseconds, you sometimes get a timeout. So occasionally, if you've got a lot of these indicators running, you haven't rebooted your computer, you may just get a timeout and you'll get something called a runtime error. If that happens, all you do is simply delete your indicator. I'll show you now. You can just press delete. So now it's off. And this is a great feature. You can simply then go to where else you've got it running. So you can just go here. So now I've gone to gold. If you look at these 3 dots, if you go down there, those 3 dots, you just go down to copy. And then you go back, we were at the NAS, and you just right click and paste. And then it'll just take a few seconds, and there we go, boom, it's back on. So if ever you get a runtime error, it just means it's timed out. I mean, it's happened only on my Apple. I mean, I've got someone testing it on a very old Windows. It has never happened. But if you haven't rebooted your computer and you get there'll be like a red hyphen runtime error. It just means it's timed out. Just reload very quickly. But these bands are quite an important part of the strategy. And so they're measuring the basic range. And where price moves quite strongly is if price breaks through one side, it's always going to move back. So if it breaks through kind of this bearish band at the bottom, there's often a quick reversal. And so the key for these bands is there's three basic rules. Number one, they need to be the right color. So if you see here, there's a buy signal. Can you see these bands are red? That means the trend is still bullish. So you'd never take a buy signal if these bands were red. There's another buy signal here. You'd immediately would ignore that because the bands are red. So that's a no-go. But here with this trade, we can see that the bands are green, which means they're on the right color for the trend that you're facing. So ideally, obviously, they've got to be the right color. Then also, you've got to be careful of range. They need to have done a U-turn. So here, clearly, they've done a U-turn. You can see up here with this buy signal, there's no U-turn. They're running down and parallel, not turn around. So that signal's definitely a no-no. Again, here, they haven't done a U-turn price. You definitely would ignore that signal. But here, they've done a turn. They're in the right color, and they're heading in the right direction. But the other key is you also only want to take signals towards the right-hand sides of the bands. You never take a buy signal on the left or a sell signal on the left. So here you can see this signal is towards the right-hand side. And so the orbs are telling us this trade is highly likely to move. The other, if I can just find an example, when it gets to range, you never take, there's maybe not, I'm just trying to look back for example of range. When the bands are moving sideways and parallel, you never want to take a trade. I'll maybe look at another one for that. So if they're running parallel, you don't take, and also if the signal's right in the middle. So for example, here, the signal's in the middle, there it's in the middle, you don't take that. This bar one is towards the right-hand side. So those three things are very important. So they've got to be the right color, they've got to be heading in the right direction, they've got to be towards the right, and price must have done a U-turn. And so this would have been that would have qualified as a very good trade. You're towards the right. All right, then the next obviously is a signal. You need to enter with a signal. And if you don't enter with a signal, I'd explain. I look at two other trades where you can sometimes wait. It's not counted as a late entry provided there's some form of signal, but ideally you enter with the buy or sell signal. And then you want to look at the score also out of 3. So for the first one we looked at for the zones, there's a score out of 3. Also for the buy signal, also a score out of 3. So you want to look at, firstly, has the previous trend reversed? So there was a pullback or price came down. If you look down here, we can see this triangle pointing up. You're getting 1 point for that already because that is telling us that the previous move down is reversed. Now, that's quite a strong part of this indicator because you don't just want to be nervously. I used to wait nervously at my screen, buy, press, it came out the blue. You usually get some kind of warning with this indicator. So that told you, we're trading on the 3 minutes. So 6 minutes before the buy signal appeared, we got this arrow, this triangle pointing up saying that the previous down move had reversed. Then you also want to see buyer momentum. So in this case, it's the triangle. So there's an example of it standing alone. In this case, you've got the diamond. So that's buyer momentum. You've got the diamond appearing at the same time as the buy signal. Now that's a good thing because it means you're getting buyer momentum and the buy signal at the same time. And so then you've got 3 out of 3. So that makes it a strong signal. All right, so there you get 3 out of 3 for that. But including, now let's move down to the last one, and that is TRENDFORCE confirmation. Sorry for the 3. We need to also look, now this is a great signal. Now, on the 3 minute, I tell you, this is very strong. When you're looking down at TRENDFORCE, you've got 3 bright green, and you're getting that on a buy signal, plus you got the diamond sticking out, buy momentum. That is a very strong signal. So there's a very good chance that trade is going to move, which it did. And so you want all of those things to really line up together nicely, which that does. So I will look at some slight exceptions at some other instruments in a minute, but just looking at this trade is a good example. Then the next one is clear space. You get 1 for clear space. This determines your take profit. So on this trade, I delete them. So in this trade, you would have had a stop loss. Where am I looking? Your stop loss would have been around 10 pips. And so your 2-to-1 would have been right where the POC is, and your 3-to-1, your TP3 would have been somewhere up there. And so is there clear space? In this case, there is some clear space, enough to make a profitable trade. And so your TP2 would have been about where the POC is. So generally, my kind of rule is we don't trade through the POC, we trade to the POC. So your safe entry probably would have been TP2 at the POC. So there was pretty clear space, but you never trade. So there are things that you don't trade into, like big round numbers. So on my screen, I always save a screen for a particular instrument. So the NAS, the Dow, gold, and the Nikkei. That's a big round number. You would never take a buy straight below a big round number. You never take a sell straight above. There needs to be clear space. I'm trying to think if there are probably other examples, but you always want to make sure there's clear space. So a number of things can get in the way. So big round numbers, then any form of support and resistance. So if we just go to the end of the indicator here, I've got these support and resistance trend lines. So here you got a buy signal, but here you're trading straight into a resistance trend line. These are very strong. So very often price may reject and reverse. So it'll be interesting to see what price it's hanging around this point over here. This red is always resistance trend line, green is support. It may reverse off that. You can see what happened. There was a buy signal there, and look what happened. Price tried to break through this resistance trend line, and it couldn't break through, and it reversed back down. Now it's trying a second time to break through. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So you also get this line I call a minor resistance line. So here there was a minor resistance line, and you also get the green ones a minor support line. So also the clear space really was a 2-to-1 in this trade. Anything above that would have been taking a risk. And we can see price hit this area and it reversed, and then it broke through, and then it did end up going up. But here we can see if there was a buy signal here, you're trading straight into a resistance line. Now these are bigger. When you see a zone like this is the resistance zone, there's a strong chance that price won't break through. So these are more than just resistance zones. This is almost, I would also call a supply zone. When a band forms like that, it means that at this point, there are sellers waiting. So if we took this trade, you would never take TP3, because for a start, you got to get through, this zone over here, but you're trading straight into, I'm talking so much, I'm losing so this is a resistance. You would never trade through that. So there are sellers. So basically you are to try and think you're going to get TP3 going through the resistance zone like this, it's highly unlikely. But the way I've programmed this indicator, if price does break above, this will change color, because that means there are buyers here now, and it can become a support zone. So these do delete. Once the orders are fulfilled, these do disappear from the charts, but it is a great feature to have. So if I took this trade, TP1, maybe TP2 would have been safe, but I never would have taken TP3 because that's in the way. So we look out for the minor resistance lines, minor support lines, and these resistance zones, or these are basically seller zones. We look for those, and other things that may get in the way. Of course, the POC, I referenced that. So I said we only trade to the POC. So here we can see how price respected. There was strong resistance over here. So there was a buy signal if we'd taken that, but it hit around about the area of the POC and came down. So if you took that trade, even if TP2 was above the POC, I would have taken probably TP1 in this case. I would have taken the safe option. So let me just see if we took, okay, this would have had this would have been a great trade. The TP3 would have been below on that particular trade. But you always want to look for clear space. So respect the POC. So I like to say we trade to the POC, not through the POC. Now I'll talk about it next week. I mean, you can say, look, this trade was a nice trade. It went up 60 pips. But the way I understand trading, what I'm going to teach next week, you don't need to knock it out the park. You don't need 60 pip trades. I'll talk more next week. You just need 30 pips to become wealthy through trading. And you can do that simply in 2 trades. That easy. I just want to bring something back. Let me just quickly, on this, I want to show you something else. just to show you what I've added in the last week, let me just put my zones back on here. This is what I spent working on Saturday morning. This can make it helpful because I took one trade, had a good run of about 12 wins out of 14. I made 2 losses. And the one loss I made, I took a notifications trade on my phone, and it looked like this. It looked so good. So the buy signal basically looked like that. There was clear space there, clear space there. I thought it wasn't a 3-minute. I thought this is going to ramp up. And then it reversed and came all the way down and stopped me out. Now, whenever I make a loss, I always try to work out, that looks so good. And then I realized I didn't, because I was on my phone, I couldn't see 3 time frames ahead. I couldn't see what the 8-minute looked like. So I couldn't. So when I went back to the 8-minute, this obviously wasn't it. I went to the 8-minute and it looked, if you can see what it looks like here, the 8-minute was, the main indicator was totally in sell mode and the MACD was in sell mode. Now, whenever that happens, you're always going to have either a huge pullback or reversal. So I only looked at the current time frame at the 3-minute, and it looked good on the 3-minute. But when I came back to my computer, it basically looked like that. So I'm going to talk in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about notifications and how you can take trades on your phone, and it works well. I did 4 out of 5. I just, on my day off, I took every trade, and look, it wouldn't always work like that, and I made the one loss. So what I've done now is I've made this little MACD table. You can see it's appeared. Can you see that on here? There's a little MACD table. And also from when I did a week or 2 back, I've also changed the colors. So now if you look at the time frames, they color coded to the main trading trend zone. So you can see right now, obviously this is telling us that we're in sell mode, which is right. They've crossed over. We're currently in sell mode, and it tells you all the higher time frames. Now, what I've done is I've taken out the 30-minute and I've added the 8-minute. So if I had this on my phone with that trade, I wouldn't have taken the trade. You can see now it's just flicked over to up. So what this means is, especially if you're working off notifications and your phone's pinging and you can only see the 3-minute, you can now look, what is the 8-minute like? Is the 8-minute in buy zone? Is the 8-minute in buy zone? And that will tell you whether the trade is safe or not. But I'll talk more about that, but it's just useful to see. So now, if you're looking at a buy like this, you can immediately check what is the MACD looking like at a higher time frame, and that's going to tell you. So whenever you take a trade and the zone is not aligned, there's always a pullback, a potentially reversal. So it's great to have this little table on the side of the screen. All right, so that was clear space. So I want to look at some other trades now. And you basically will get like a score out of 10. So you give 1 for clear space. So with each signal, you can work out what you would get. So this would be quite strong. I mean, you got almost 4 there for the buy signal, clear space. Well, I would give it a 1 because you'd get up to TP2. You're not quite organized with your trend zones because you get 2 out of 3 because you're trading into another zone. And you get 3 out of 3 with your orbs because you're on the right-hand side, they're the right color, and they're moving up, and it's done a U-turn. So that would be a strong trade. Now, not every trade is perfect, and as at the moment, there's been a lot of range. So it's been quite tricky trading. A lot of these bands have been mixed up. There hasn't been a clear direction, a clear trend. So it's been a bit more tricky. So let's look at 2 other trades. Let's just go to gold today, and let's look at this trade on gold. There was a buy signal at 1436. So let's just study this trade very quickly. Now, immediately, if we're looking at the trend zones, we can see, okay, here it is blue, so that is correct. But if you look down at the MACD, can you see that is in sell mode? And so that's definitely not blue. You'd want it to look like there, separation, green lines and blue. But here it's still pulling back. So whenever you get a buy signal or a sell signal the other way around, and that zone is red, it means it's going to pull back a bit. We can see it went up and it did come back. So there are times where you can wait, and it's not a late entry if there's some form of signal. So we can see already with this trade, the weakness was, although there was a buy signal, the previous move hadn't reversed yet. You can see it's still showing down. So there would be a reason to wait. we find that the triangle up, which means re-enter, only appears in the next candle. Plus, there's still seller momentum. So we haven't yet got buy momentum, which only appears further along over there. So although it looks good, there were reasons to wait. If we look across at the 8-minute, let me just quickly add my trend tables quickly on this one. I'll turn them off. So trend zone and the MACD table, I'll just put those back on. If we looked at the 8-minute, this would be encouraging. So on that trend signal, what's good, at the same time as we got the buy signal, we have a red candle, which is not a good idea. So that would have said, I'm waiting. So I'm not going to take that trade while there's still a red. What the good news is, if you look at this band, it's equivalent to about a 55. This trade, this zone over here is bright green. So that means it's definitely a strong upward momentum. So I'm looking at buy. The reasons not to enter yet. This is bright green, which means it's definitely going up. We can see already this zone over here is heading up. But the other thing I want to point out is these white lines are very useful. So if you see, I call these reversal support and resistance. If you look at the indicator, you'll see under inputs, where have I got them? I'm looking for them quickly. I think I've got them on the other page. Sorry, let me just look. Here we go. Let me go style. Little white lines. There's so many things here. Here we go. Reversal support and resistance. These are very strong indications of whether it's safe to take a trade. And so we can see that there is a buy, but we are trading. There's no clear space. So this can potentially reverse. So if ever there's a signal below one of these reversal support and resistance, I never enter, because sometimes it hits those lines, then it goes all the way down. So I would wait. We've got a buy signal. That trend zone is in alignment. That's not in alignment. The 8-minute is saying we're definitely heading up, but there are reasons to wait. So I would always wait until we passed that line. Once that line stops plotting, it means we're in clear space. But I would be patient, because I would wait for our trend, our oscillator, to go completely bright. You can see on the signal, what's also a no-no is that our TRENDFORCE oscillator is bright red, and that means it could still pull back. So there are reasons to wait. What is good about trend zone, especially on our oscillator, TRENDFORCE on the 3-minute, it's very strong. And so I would have probably entered over here. We can see by now there's a strong gap in that trend zone, a strong gap in that trend zone. So if it did enter here, now this is not entering late, because this also counts as a signal. That's why I wanted to look at this trade. Once that goes bright, that is saying there's upward momentum. So if you took this trade over here, you would probably need about I think I worked out about a 15 pip stop loss. That's why I just calculated gold. And so a 2-to-1 would have been, you would still got a 2-to-1 would have been over there, and a 3-to-1 would have been over there. So you would have still got a good trade, even though you waited. So sometimes it does pay to wait. Then I'll look at one more trade. Let's just look at the US 30 this morning. Let's go to a 1-minute chart. And I just want to show you something else here. What I like to look at is that when I trade, I've mixed up my screen slightly. I normally have a sliver of the 8-minute on the left, but I've done the 1-minute and the 3-minute and the 8-minute all together, just to make a point with this trade. Now, because my orbs can only plot back to 500 candles, the orbs aren't here. But I know from this morning, if you can picture, the outer range bands at this point were red, very close to the sell signal and pointing down. So this is also a very good signal. So if we look at the 1-minute, in terms of the rules, we've got a signal, which is great. What I like about this one, especially if you look down at the TRENDFORCE oscillator, we got a triangle down at 8:08. The signal came at 8:15. So you got a 7-minute warning that up move, that pullback had reversed. Plus also 2 candles early. Can you see there we got buy momentum? So if I'm looking to trade, I'm only looking, for example, to take sells. We're definitely in the downtrend. We're below the 50-minute trend. I would not even think about that reversal So already I've got warning, triangle down. I've got there's seller momentum. Then we get a sell signal. On the 1 minute, that's strong. There's a crossover on the signal. If you look at the MACD, the trend zone is red. That's also strong. And what also makes it strong on the sell signal, you also have our TRENDFORCE oscillator, all three bright red, very strong signal. But what you need to check is also 3 times higher for confirmation, because otherwise you can get false signals. Like there's a false signal for a number of reasons. That would definitely not have been a good trade to take. But if you look at this one, if you go to the 3 minute, I want to make a point here, because on the 3 minute, although the main TRENDFORCE indicator has separated going down, at that point you've got a diamond which is strong. The MACD is still slightly in buy zone. Although the signal line has gone to red, it is not a perfect signal. What is strong though, TRENDFORCE bright green. So the reason why I like to have a sliver of the 8 minute, I mean, now you can look over here, which is great, but there's a rule I've learned. On the 8 minute, can you see at the same time we got the sell signal at 8:15? If you look at 8:15 on the 8 minute, which is somewhere down here, we can see the main TRENDFORCE indicator is strongly in sell mode, plus the MACD strongly in sell mode. And so there's a saying in trading that higher time frames bully lower time frames. So if there's any hesitation, just look to the next time frame. If it's completely in sell mode, that means that's going to move. And so that's what I would look at. So that's another good signal. And that, I mean, that was a great signal. That went down about 55 pips on the Dow. Now, if I remember correctly, TP1 was around here, TP2 was lower. Remember, one of the rules is clear space. There was wonderful clear space, but here we've got a pivot. This is like a Fibonacci pivot. That one is S2. I just have my pivots different thicknesses. So that's a 2-line thickness. So I know that's S2. I would never have gone for TP2. TP2, I think, was on the other side of S2. So TP1 was on that zone. That would have been your safe target over there. It was clear space. Wouldn't have been enough clear space to go to TP2. I mean, remember, we want to be low risk, high probability trades. So those are basically 3 kind of case studies. And you can see, obviously, the wrong signals. You get these ones. If you looked at high time frames, it would obviously be a no-no. I haven't looked at what price is doing now. Let's have a look. These are all counter trend. Okay, there's another. I do want to look at one more thing. Occasionally, you will see here, you can see prices broken above the 15 minutes on the 1 minute, and there's a little triangle pointing up, a triangle pointing up. Well, some people have already asked, and I put this here deliberately, what happens if normally if we're only trading with trend, you initially would have got a buy signal here, but we don't want to trade through zones. So when you see a triangle like this, it means all the other zones are in order. So at least you're above the 1 hour. So here's your 1 hour. And if price breaks above the 1 hour, you get a triangle. I purposely haven't put a buy signal when price breaks above, this 15 minute here, although we're above the 1 hour. Because when you break through like this, price often retests. And this is exactly what happened. If you took this buy signal now, it would have been a bit risky. Although you can see the trend zones are lined there, the trend zones are lined there, even TRENDFORCE is bright green. Whenever you break through a zone like this, there's often a pullback. And here, if you're taking this trade, you can see this would have pulled back quite a bit, that pullback. Well, I mean, we're not in high volume now. Pull back quite a bit. It could have stopped you out. And so if price breaks above, I just ignore these. Someone did say, can't you take them? If I was trading at 10 cents a pip, I'd take every one probably. But I mean, my goal is to get to $20 a pip. And then you want to really be low risk, high probability trades. And so, look, that's basically what I wanted to go through tonight. I mean, there's like so much to teach and train, but just to get you going, just some of the basic rules. So there's 4 rules. I mean, it doesn't sound like a good word, but TOSS, TOSS. And so basically T is for your trend zones, O is for your orbs, your outer range bands, then S is for signal, and the other S is for space, is there clear space. So if you apply those 4 rules, then you'll be profitable. Look here, this signal came through. Let's just analyze this last one. I mean, sometimes your TP3 is very close if things are bunched up, but that would have been quite a safe signal. Let's look at the 3-minute. What is it looking like in the 3-minute? Let's just get back here. So if you looked at the 3-minute, not the strongest, but if you looked here, you got a sell signal. You're not quite aligned on the MACD. You maybe had to have waited. That would have been a safe place to enter. If you looked on the 3-minute, it's almost a good trade. You've got separation. Your MACD is currently almost in the process of separating at the same time, and TRENDFORCE is oscillator mostly strong. So that would have been a safe trade to take. So I think I'll leave it there and get you back on the screen. So back to you.
I'm coming. All right, thanks, Dad. So a couple of questions before we knock you off.
Okay.
Marcus had a good one around the signals. So going back and looking at TPs and stop losses, etc. Basically asking around when's the time to enter, like wait for it to finish printing, or I guess maybe just giving guys some understanding of when or what is causing the initial point of that stop loss and TP being generated, because it's not off the candle close as such. It is firing off once it opens. So yeah, because Wayne's also asking about how do you calculate these stop losses. Some of them are obviously tight, and the reason I would say they're tight is because if you have taken a bad signal and your stop is going to get hit, I think we'd all agree we'd like that stop to be tiny, not large. But
Yeah.
the facts are when you take a great signal, it's going to move in your favor. So any commentary on that, the TPs, the stop losses, and what's causing them or when's causing them to fire off based on that entry? And
Yeah, so it's based on a few things, but mainly certain EMAs crossing over. And so as soon as the EMAs start crossing over with trend, then the software starts calculating the stop loss and the take profits. And so obviously while it's calculating, at the same time price is moving. And so sometimes there's a little bit of movement as the program is calculating where to put the different take profits. And so the thing is, there used to be a lot of movement when we used to do counter trends. But once you're in a situation like this where you start seeing a sell signal and it's fulfilling the rules, I try and enter in on the signal, but definitely not not later, unless there's a reason, like I showed, to enter maybe 1 or 2 candles later if something else has to be fulfilled. So most times I try enter on the sell signal, and then I just wait while I press sell. And obviously you've got a few seconds, and the program's calculating the stop losses and take profits, and then I do adjust them. So sometimes it may move slightly, and then I just wait a few minutes. And sorry, not a minute. I wait 10, 15 seconds, but generally they will settle down after 10 or 15 seconds, and then you can then decide where you're going to put your stop loss. Sorry, where you're going to put your stop loss and where you're going to put your take profits. So it's really based that the program's calculating the highest probability to get to these targets. And so that's why you will see most times when these print and you're following the rules, most often, a lot of the time it gets to TP3, which is a 3-to-1, which a lot of strategies, a lot of them, if you research, they say 1.5-to-1 is good. Most say at least get 2-to-1, but a lot of my trades will go to TP3 if there's clear space, and of course, it's a strong signal. And so I try to cut a long story short, I try getting on the signal. If it's looking strong, I click buy or I click sell, and then I already put my stop loss in. I drag my take profit to TP1, 2, or 3, depending on clear space. And then it does, while it's still in that 1 minute or the 3-minute of the candles, they do move, and then I'll make an adjustment while it's going. But I do, try getting on the signal straight away if there's no reason to wait.
Cool. Another question about the house-shaped diamond arrow. Like you can see one right there to the right, directly underneath the cell. Is that our trend shift one?
Sorry, where are you looking?
Where price is right now, one candle back, red, red diamondy house. So the wedge, that one, yeah.
That wedge, okay. That's good. I'm glad you asked that. So if you look here in the indicator, I call this higher highs and lower lows. So you will look here under inputs. It's over here. I mean, there's so much, so many things to add and teach. So this is a higher high wedge and the lower low wedge, and you can adjust the number of candles back, and I'll explain what that means. The default is set to 20. So each time price breaks a low or a high within 20 candles, it's going to print that wedge. And so, for example, price now has broken a low from 20 candles back, and it starts printing. And what it does, it'll keep printing as long as it goes down, and then it will stop. And when price reverses, it will stay there. So this candle over here, the previous high could have been over here. And so once price broke, that wedge would have started printing probably on this candle over here. It would have printed there and stayed there. And then once price broke above, it would have reprinted and stopped because it hasn't gone higher. So if you're looking back, that's your previous high, 20 candles back, and that's now your new low. So that low could have been way back over here at the bottom. So that's your new low. So you can see it's made a higher low. That could mean price is moving up. So they do reprint, and they do chase the candles as price moves, and they will stop at the high. So I don't know if that answered that question. So if price breaks through the zone now and gets lower than that candle, that's going to be the new low. It's going to print below. Let's have a look. That may print. I mean, this is counter trend, so it wouldn't take it. So it may just swap around, and that's going to be the new low. Anyway, we don't have to stay there. The other questions, Ty?
What Nikki's asking are the two EMAs that cross the 20 and 50 EMA. I can say equivalently we don't have a 20 and a 50 in there, but I'm not. You might have to re-clarify, Nikki, if it's something more specific.
Which ones are we talking about?
I'm not sure. Just the question is, are the two EMAs that cross the 20 and 50?
No, this is like a 13 and 21 down here.
Yeah, the faster ones.
This would be like a 55.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe she'll retype something, but otherwise,
see, price is broken here. Can you see now? This is going to chase this down. That's now made a new low. That's a lower low from 20 candles back, and it'll keep printing down, and stop until it reaches the bottom.
Possibly,
it is useful if you're in a trade. If you're trading with trend, if you broke above here, and if you had a buy signal, if that prints, it means price has broken a previous high. It's highly likely to move up, so it's useful to have. But you can see now price is now heading towards this trend line. So if it was with trend, these are very strong. This support trend line, there's a high chance, price is going to respect that and move back up again.
Very cool. Vickers has a question. Might have to clarify. When do we exit the trade? Use a buy as an example. I mean, that's going to be TP specific with clear space.
Yeah, I mean, exiting trade, you've got to have a clear exit. You set a target. I'm a strong believer in that. Otherwise, emotion, greed's going to come to play. So I want to be a mechanical trader, and so I will choose TP1, TP2, or TP3 depending on if there's clear space. I mean, I'll talk more about it next week. You don't need to make 100 pip trades to be wealthy. You need to have a high win rate. You need to be a mechanical trader. You only need 30 pips a day, and I'm going to show you next week how to become wealthy on 30 pips a day. So it's best to have a clear exit strategy. Keep emotion out of it. So if I take a trade and my TP is 25 pips, and I hit if it's TP3, 25 pips, if it goes to 500 pips, 50 pips, I feel I have no fear of leaving money on the table, because you don't become wealthy by trading emotionally and trying to knock it out the park trades. You stick to the strategy, stick to definite targets. That's how you become wealthy. That's how you become consistent. And that's how you'll be a successful trader.
So good. Sorry, just following up some questions. Which charts, timeframes, and sessions recommended will be helpful? I mean, that's also going to be, I can answer that in terms of personal preference, because this thing works whenever the markets are moving. So some of us might get up early and catch what's going on at the end of New York. Some of us might be at the open of Asia. I mean, today this thing was cranking for Asia as well. And then with London, it just depends what the volume is. So there's definitely going to be some times to avoid like sometimes things go into range obviously for the final hour or two of the week right before market closes. There's just going to be certain times where things are more likely to range. Dad, you can speak into that at all if you want. And obviously different charts. I mean, we personally mostly just look at the NAS, the Dow, gold. Some of us watch the Nikkei, but those would be the four that we probably all watch the most collectively. But Dad, you're welcome to say anything about any of that.
And I said the same. I only trade just in the morning for an hour or two, and then I just look mainly at the Dow and the NAS. I said, I mean, also the Nikkei. If I was a day trader, I'd look at the Nikkei and I'd also probably trade gold. But as I say, you only need 30 pips a day, to become wealthy. You only need 2 trades a day of 15 pips, and with notifications, this really can be very easy. If you follow the rules and the strategy I've got, you can be successful. So, I just mainly look at the Dow and the NAS. I split my screen. So this is my main screen. I have the Dow with a 1, 3, and 8 minutes. And then I've got a monitor above with the NAS 1, 3, and 8 minute. And usually it's easy to get 30 pips if you trade for an hour or two. I mean, look, the markets have been rangy. And a lot of people trade gold too, and the Nikkei and the day. Those are also good. Those 4 are the best. And so if you trade in the day, gold often moves, from lunch, the Nikkei from lunch all through the afternoon. And then you get the London Open. The London Open's at 9 o'clock. That's why there's a lot of movement now. We're right on the London Open.
Dad, an idea. So, can you load up the NAS because there's a buy on there? Could you get some commentary on that buy in real time, looking back at the signal? 1 minute, 1 minute looks good, and 3 minute.
Let's look at the NAS. Okay, so now we're on the. Let me just look at the 3 minute. Okay, so how strong was this signal? Okay, you can see on the buy, we in sell mode. The trend zone is pointing down. So whenever that happens, there's always a pullback. So sure enough, that is pullback. There wasn't enough clear space. So I'll walk you through it. There wasn't enough clear space to enter right over there. And also, you can see you were trading into a resistance trend line, which price pivoted off and came down a bit. So it kind of respected that area. So if you were going to take this trade, then if I'm looking at the 3 minute, there's also a supply zone. You're trading right into a supply zone. That's also pretty close. So there's not a lot of clear space. So I wouldn't have taken that trade. It's too risky for me. Not enough clear space. You'd have entered over here. You're also on the 1 minute. You're trading into the 1 hour zone. And you're trading also, there's a supply zone here, which has a high chance of reversing.
So that's a 3. You're on a 3, right? Is your main one a 3 right now that you're looking at? I'm just checking.
Sorry, I'm on the 3. Let me just change it back.
The 1 minute's bumping straight into the 1 hour as well. That would have been
okay. Let me just look. Sorry, I've changed for tonight. I've changed all my screens around. So let's look at the 1 minute. Yeah, you've just broken above. I mean, this would have been red. You would have been trading straight into a supply zone. Because we've broken above now, it's changed to demand zone. It would have been red, it's changed to green. If you'd gone right back to here, let's have a look. Yeah, that would have been a high risk trade. I never would have taken that. I mean, on the buy signal,
do an idea. Give it a score. Look at it from a. So when the buy signal went off, there was still a red zone on the 1 minute trend zone, but it was moving towards crossing over. It basically crossed over on the second candle after the buy.
Yeah.
You had a buyer's diamond happening right there. Prices just moved above the main thick trend 15-minute trend zone. That one line that goes green then red then green, the thicker one there, that one.
Yeah.
Then once you get above that POC, the signal pops off, and then MACD zone's the right color on the 1. It's just crossing into the blue. And the 3 minute at that particular moment in time is already blue on both price and indicator. The 1, and then TRENDFORCE is missing 1, but it's close. It just doesn't have as much space. So it's got a pretty.
There's not enough. It's close, but not enough space for me. I mean, that's why you got to be patient and wait for the right setups. You're trading straight into this 4 hour. You also got the PRC sitting over there. So that is risky, and especially when price is weaving above and below, the 15-minute trend zone. I mean, that to me is a bit rangy. So you'd have to wait for price to find better momentum. And you can see, if you look here on the 3 minute, there's a minor resistance line. And you can see price has respected that on the 3 minute. It hasn't really closed above. And you can see now this was green and now it's changed back to red because I mean the buyers tried to push the price up, but now you can see this that diamond means seller momentum. Sellers are trying to push price down. So they wouldn't be in a I wouldn't have gone for that trade.
I'm just loading something. One more. So Zeph has a good question. What is considered on trend here? Is it the 1 minute or 3 minute and the same as high time frames? I guess just talking about that 15-minute trend line, Dad, as to what is, you just touched on it a little bit. Like when that line is very flat, you might break above slightly and break below slightly and get some trend shifts. But that is when it's risky, is when it's flat.
Yeah,
That's
this
more
is
likely
good.
you're gonna
I
have a
mean, if
range.
you look here, this is almost flat, and that means your 15-minute is in range. So if we change this to the 15-minute now, I can tell you that's going to be looking, it's going to be rangy. Can you see here? Here's the 15-minute. And can you see, look at this range. This is pretty rangy. You know, there was a good move up, came down, went down, up. So the 15-minute is rangy. And you can see basically the MACD is saying downward pressure. So that band is looking over this time period. So this is the 15-minute. So you can see how rangy it is. So you want to be taking trades when, let me just open up again. I mean, you'd have to go back a bit. Here we can see, this is, can you see now? Yeah, there's definite, this 15-minute band is a nice slope move, consistently moving up. When that happens, boom, price moves up. But now it's going sideways. It's leveled out completely. So you want to be avoiding trades when it's looking like that. Any
Good
other?
stuff. No, I mean, before it gets too long, I might pull up the doc with the rules on it so everyone can screenshot that and then, yeah,
Yep.
just, I mean, there's guys, naturally we will get, it'll take a little while to assimilate to it. And if you don't even staring at it for 5 minutes or 5 days, you will get to the point in time where you can start to adjust it, change opacities on certain things. Maybe you'll turn some things off. Like you might turn off some diamonds or turn off some wedges. But yeah, it'd be pretty awesome to just give you guys some time on it and start looking. So I mean, homework wise, I was going to go and say, go and screenshot or look for some signals over the next few days that obviously ran, but then at the same time, go and look back and teach yourself how to go and score those. And so when I pull up this doc, you'll see in a moment what I mean by scoring them, because we've just talked through the rules, but visually I need to see the rules. So,
And I want to say again, the markets have been very sideways in the last week or so. So it's not a good, I mean, it's risky trading when the market's like this. I mean, normally the market is trending. There would have been some better examples to look at. So I've looked at the best with what's the market's offering, but it is a tough time to trade. There hasn't been a lot of movement. So it's, as I say, it's not a good time to trade at the moment. It's very rangy. I think in the next week or so, it'll begin to find new momentum. So you just got to trade carefully. Wait for the really good setups.
that's it. Definitely lots of keen beans for some live morning trading sessions together, guys. I think we will get there. I think right now we'll have 100 questions at 5, 6 in the morning while you guys are getting used to it all. And I mean, personally, I can't talk too loud in the mornings. I don't know if Dad can either. So initially, let's get everyone like really honing in the rules. And then once we're at a place, it was the same when we did it way back in the day. It was the only way to join those Zooms where you had spent a lot of time on certain Go Live sessions. You knew the rules. It was less of a training in live trading circumstances and more of you'd already learnt a lot of the key concepts and then we're able to spot them. So we'll figure out some homework for that. Dad, I'll screen share on my end and
Okay. And I'll stop share on my side.
let me see what to do on this. I'll unpin you and pin myself. What do I do here? Oh, you're gone. So now I've got to see if I can pin me. Add pin. There we go. And let's see if I can unpin. There we go. All right, guys. So I'm going to share this document. Pow! So This here is the typed up version of everything Dad just taught us. And so it will be a lot easier even re-watching or re-listening to tonight and going through. So we talked about the trend zone alignment a whole lot. That's obviously the blue or red zone in between the fastest moving averages that you can see, both on top in the indicator and on the MACD being color aligned. Talk about higher time frames, looking 3 times higher. But when we talk about a score, right at the end, everything in here, you're going to see +1, +1, +1, or 1, 1, 1. And then at the end, considering all of the above, we're measuring the strength score of every signal out of 10. So you're able to go back and look at every single signal that pops off and actually rate it a 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. So when the trend zone or alignment, you're scoring that out of 3, +1 for the current zone. You're looking at a 1 minute chart, you're going to say, okay, the 1 minute chart is actually blue for a buy, and on the MACD as well. Then looking at the 3 minute, which is 3 times higher than the 1, that's an alignment too, +1. It's also blue in the trend zone, it's blue on the MACD, we're good. And then looking high time frames above that, that could be a 8 minute or a 15 or a 1 hour. You can just look and see, yeah, +1, you know, the teal or the pink trend zones, you'll be looking at on a 1 minute chart. You can be aware of what those other high time frames are doing. If those lines are below you for a buy, you're in the right space. If they're above you, then high time frames are a little bit against you. The orbs, outer range bands, +1 for the right color. That's an easy one. Obviously, if they are green, you're taking buys, red, taking sells. I know it'll take a little bit of time to simulate this next part. So the U-turn, price has done a reversal and is coming. So there's movement. It doesn't just look like range, but price has actually come down or come up and reversed. Then this one here, signal positioned to the right of the bands. I'm going to share my screen and just reiterate what that is, because that right there is the golden place that when you see that, you can't unsee that, and I want you all to see that. So let me just pull up that one. What have I got here? I'm trying to look at my share. So looking at this, for instance, let's just pull up something on this 1 minute chart here and look for a signal that is, see there, that sell signal there is on the right. So can you see here that buy signal is kind of in the middle between the bands, a little bit higher up, but price has kind of rejected it, and then there, yep, but then buy signal, middle, and buying, no, we're all red, but here, bands are red, and this is the right-hand side of the band. So the bands have come down, and you're selling off the right-hand side, or you're looking to buy off the bottom right. So that's not quite the bottom right over there. And I've got one more question for Dad to cover in a moment. See there, buying off the right-hand side, bottom right for a buy or top right red for a sell. So when we say the right-hand side, we mean the right-hand side of these bands. So buying up that way and etc. So hopefully that re-clarified that little bit. I'm going to try to share back to that document. There we go. So if all of these are correct, you're getting a 3 out of 3 for the orbs. So you've got the first 3 points in relation to the trend zone alignments. The next 3 are all in regards to the orbs. Then the signal itself, strength score out of 3. Okay, you've got the buyer momentum, seller momentum. That's the diamond, which will be red or green. 1 point for that. If it is there, or if it already happened, or if it happens at the same time, it's brilliant. The white triangle on the TRENDFORCE oscillator, that's the re-enter, reverse, 1 + 1 for that. +1 for the oscillator just being 3 colors that are all the right color, green for buys, red for sells, and occasionally all 3 will combine, and that's the very strong one when, yeah, all of those happen. And then clear space, just giving 1 point for that. Like, is there actually clear space? There's no giant trend lines or zones or moving averages or resistance things. That is the final one. So with that, yeah, obviously looking out for big round numbers, you know, triple zero numbers, things like that. Resistance lines, pivot lines, trend lines, the POC, like what Dad said, they're trading to the POC, never through the POC. So that would be a target, not something that you're praying to break through. And then from that, you're going to learn to look at these and go, okay, right, first thing you're probably going to notice is we're in alignment. So that what we're planning on, like with us, is getting yourself to a point, and it was the same for all of us learning any other strategy in the past, where you're going to start seeing a lot of these things. You're going to see the trend zone and the orbs before you see the signal. So you're going to be mentally ticking off a lot of these points in your head before the signal actually pops off. That's why we put signal down here, because you're going to be able to go, yep, this is working, and we're moving towards a buy. Orbs are looking good. Yep. Okay, we got a signal. Now, okay, yep, we got a diamond actually before the signal popped off. So you might be at a 7 out of 10 there already. The white triangle might already have happened, so you might actually be at an 8 out of 10. The oscillator might be missing 1 or 2, so you might be 8 out of 10 and you might risk it. And then is there clear space? So you can see what I mean? You're going to start mentally seeing a lot of these first few points before you get the signal, so that when the signal pops off, you're already mentally quite ready to take it. Hope that it was a whole lot clearer than mud. I'm just going to catch up on the questions there. A few things. We'll post this in the chat. Yes, I can dump that whole rules thing into our chat, guys, so you can all have it and print it and do your thing with it. Definitely, we'll put it in. Cool, guys. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that'll be much clearer. We didn't want to give you that in the beginning because you guys would have just been staring at that and reading ahead and whatever. But I know now by having that, it'll be a whole lot clearer, and maybe even rewatching this with that. So before we get too late, guys, that was a long one. And give yourselves some grace. This is session 1. Take some time to learn something new. You've got this wonderful shiny tool now to use, but now you actually can now go and evaluate. The real key, guys, is going to be doing your homework. Like our dad goes back and goes crazy into why did that trade not play out. You've got to now do the same thing and go and start looking at signals and going, okay, I can see this, I can see this, I can see this. That's a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't take that. Or no, the bands are not right. No, the signal's in the middle of the bands. You're going to start seeing those things and start mentally going +1, +1, -1, -1. And before you know it, that'll be subconscious. Like, just give yourself some time, get some mileage on the charts with it, and you will start to progress rapidly. So with that, we'll wrap it up there for tonight. I am going to chop this up, chuck it on YouTube. And guys, just want to say again, a massive, massive, massive thank you from the bottom of our hearts for just leaping into this with us. Obviously, this is round 1. This is the first time we've done anything like this, and it's going to become smoother and smoother. And yeah, just really excited to refine all of this and do individual sessions on different particular pieces. For now, we just want to give you all the rules so you can go and play and learn. But I also want to tell you, please, like, you might have a live account, give yourself a couple weeks to go and practice on demo. It's just as wonderful and easy as it might look, maybe not after explaining it in that much detail. Give yourself some space and time. We're not in this to chase money quickly. We're in this to chase a skill. And so right now you're learning a brand new strategy, which is a brand new skill. And so just give yourself some grace. The money will always be there. There's nothing worse than going backwards while you're trying to learn something new. So just give yourself that grace. And I love it. Okay, thanks, and mind-blowing. Amazing. Thank you both. Cool. All right, guys. Love you all so much. Again, just diarize right now, the 8th of December. So we've got the next 3 Tuesday nights definitely mapped out. We know exactly what we're doing with those. And then just to reiterate, I'm double checking my calendar because my brain, Sunday night, the 8th of December, we want to do a live event in Auckland, which will be just for this group. We're not throwing a wide on Facebook. We really want to take this group deep. I know some of you are outside of town or overseas, but we actually, Dad and I got some cool ideas for that. Not necessarily, there'll be some training. The point won't be to go crazy in-depth training. We want to have some face time, have maybe some meal time, and spend time together and grow and learn and build a community and really enjoy this journey together. So with that, guys, I will wrap it up there. And we'll see you in our brand new chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to click that subscribe button, maybe even hit that like button, do us some favors. Let's grow this thing. Love you all. We'll see you in the next one. All right. Good night, everyone.